on WMUN 92.5 FM, 1340 AM, and the Gainbridge Ball State Cardinals Sports Network. Welcome to This Week in Ball State Sports, highlighting the Cardinal teams, administration, alumni, and community. Now here's the voice of the Cardinals, your host, Mick Tidrow.
Thanks for joining us on a Thursday morning on This Week in Ball State Sports. And contrary to what Steve Lindell was saying a few moments ago, I did not dress up for Halloween. I am a no-fun Halloween person this year, so that is that. But This Week in Ball State Sports is a lot of fun this week. We have head coach Mike Uremovich, Tayler Persons of Ball State men's basketball joining us from Bosnia, and Andy Stoots, head soccer coach at Ball State. First up, head coach Mike Uremovich. Head football coach Mike Uremovich joins us in a pre-recorded conversation for This Week in Ball State Sports. Coach, appreciate your time today.
No problem. Look forward to talking to you.
Coach, when you look at bounce-back opportunity after the NIU game, how have you seen the team respond these last couple of days?
We've had a real good practice today, and, it's like anything else in life. You got to overcome adversity, and we weren't happy with the result last Saturday, so we got to get back to work and find ways to get better. Ultimately, when you turned on the tape, what did you see from that game? At first blush after the game, you look at stats and all that, and our defense could have played better for sure. But with how we grade our, defensive performances, touchdowns allowed and turnovers, and they played good enough to win the game. They really did.
How about from an offensive standpoint?
Offensively, we did not. Obviously, we had the turnovers and didn't score enough points, and then we had disappointing. We had a special teams turnover as well, so that's not good enough to win, and it's something we gotta keep getting better at.
When you look at the 3 turnovers your defense did force, Joe Edric Lewis had an interception in the red zone. It seems like the defense's that turnover prowess that you and I talked about a couple weeks ago is starting to take shape. How are you seeing that grow?
Yeah, they usually come in bunches like that. It's something we talk about and work about a bunch. And I told you after the first 3 or 4 games of the year that we weren't getting any, and then you just got to keep punching at the ball and playing good coverage. And thankfully the last 2 weeks we started to get some of them, and hopefully that continues.
Head coach Mike Uremovich joining us here on This Week in Ball State Sports. Coach, when you talk about wanting to see the next level from the offense, what do you think that next step is?
Well, it comes down to execution. I mean, there's always plays after the game as a play caller that you wish you had back. It doesn't matter if you win 42-0 or lose 42-0. We're always grading ourselves as coaches, and then it comes down to the execution of the plays on the field, and we got to get better at that. There's plays there to be made that we're not making right now.
Coach, looking at the mini bye that you guys get, how beneficial is that?
It's great. I mean, at this point of the year, obviously we're beat up, and we actually came out of that game pretty beat up. So we were able to give our older guys a day to rest. We did another developmental practice yesterday, which is really important for this year. Just some of the guys will end up needing to play that aren't playing right now, and really important for next year and the following years to get our young guys, up to speed and get them to continue to get better as we get into spring ball. So those developmental practices are great.
For you, what's the balance of making sure that you have everybody healthy, but also making sure that you're running with the guys who need the game action reps to go in for another conference game?
It's always a tough balance because, guys need reps to be able to perform, but then also you want to get them healthy. So we sat all the guys that had anything at all with them yesterday. Some guys came back today. Tomorrow's still, in quotes, a bonus day outside of the game week, so we'll limit some reps tomorrow. But after the players have off on Friday, we get back in here Saturday. That's our Tuesday of a game week, so we need to be full strength and have everybody practicing on that day.
Now with you being a head coach for the first time in the MAC, you've been in the MAC obviously as an assistant, but when you look at it from a head coaching standpoint, keeping the days straight with the midweek action, how are you handling that?
It's impossible, but I never know. We'll be practicing on a Saturday, and I'll come in my office, and there'll be a college game on, and I'll just be like, why is this game on? Because I got no idea. Or I'll come home on a Sunday and ask my wife why the kids are home, and she'll say it's Sunday. And I say, I thought it was Wednesday because it was a Wednesday practice. So I don't even try to keep it straight. It's really what day of preparation we're in, and today, like I said, was a bonus day, but it was a Tuesday format practice. Tomorrow will be the same. And then Saturday will be another Tuesday, and Sunday will be a Wednesday, and you kind of work the schedule that way. And then you got to, and I have a schedule that I'm very confident in for game day, it being a night kickoff and us being at home, which involves the guys getting up, getting them out of the hotel, having them stretch, having them eat lunch, get some treatment, go back, take a nap. That's a schedule I've been familiar with, whether it was a MACtion or a late night game when I was, had some experience at some other schools.
So you're saying that your Outlook calendar and Pete Rowley are your best friends this time of year?
Yes, they are. They are. I get here early anyway, so I always just figure if I get here early enough, somebody will tell me where to go. So I don't have to worry about that.
Head coach Mike Uremovich joining us here on This Week in Ball State Sports in a pre-recorded conversation. Coach, when you look at the next opponent, still a ways away until we got that on November 5th, but when you look at Kent State, I know you've been diving into prep. What do you see from their offense?
Their offense, their quarterback does a nice job. He doesn't run the ball a ton. He's a capable runner. They might have the best group of receivers that we've seen. All of them can run. They're not very big guys, but they're really, really physical, and they are playing extremely hard. Head coach has done a great job with those guys. Obviously, they've found a way to win 3 games and really could have beat Buffalo, if not for a late score. So offensively, they're being pretty opportunistic, and they're getting the ball in space to their speed guys. They also got a really good tailback that missed the first 4 games of the year that's back now, transferred from Minnesota. That's a really good player.
You say the word opportunistic. What do you mean by that?
Well, they're making guys miss. I mean, they're throwing hitches, and a guy will make a guy miss and take it for 30 yards. Or they'll break a run. They had a big run last week against Bowling Green where Bowling Green gave them the ball back, and they ended up getting a great block on the cracking of the safety, which is an extremely difficult block for the wide receiver to get there. It was a great effort play by that kid, and it sprung the tailback for a long touchdown and helped them win the game. So they are not giving the ball to the other team, and when they're getting field position, they're making the most of it with touchdowns.
Coach, you mentioned the tailback for Kent State. How do you try to contain him, especially after the NIU game?
Yeah, I mean, we got to tackle better, and he's not dissimilar from the NIU backs. He's a big back. He'll make guys miss. But he will be physical and try to run you over too. So the key to that is you have to get hats to the ball. When you're playing a really good running back, you're not going to make every tackle. You'd like to, but you're not. You have to pursue the football, and when the first guy does slow him up, the other guys are getting there to get him down.
Head coach Mike Uremovich joining us here on This Week in Ball State Sports. Coach, you're looking at Kent State's defense. What do you see on tape from them?
I think their defensive tackles are probably their best players. They're very sound on defense. They very rarely are out of gap. They fit the run really well. Their safeties are very similar to ours, are involved in the run fits a lot. So they're coming down to make tackles. Linebackers are pretty active, and they do a decent amount of things up front to help keep people off those linebackers. They'll play 4 down. They'll play some bare front. They'll play some odd front, and they'll move their D linemen around a decent amount to try to prevent your O linemen from climbing up to the linebackers, and they let the backers and the safeties make the tackles. So there's going to be one-on-one blocks a lot of times because you're not going to be able to sit on your double teams. So we're going to have to, when we get off to the linebacker, we're going to have to sustain and finish our blocks when it's on a D tackle. And then when we climb to the linebackers, we're going to have good leverage and finish.
How much does it help that you guys use a lot of defensive linemen rotate in to be able to prep for a team that kind of does something like that?
It helps. It helps us. And they're not exactly like our defense,
right?
But there are similarities. There are a lot of similarities with what they do defensively to what we saw during training camp.
Coach, how are you seeing your defensive back group grow?
They are getting better and better. Now, we still have a long ways to go, okay? But they are getting better and better at just the communication piece of it, getting us in the right call, and then executing the call. And they've gotten better every week throughout the season. They need to continue to improve like the rest of our team does. I mean, our goal is to get better every single week. But that group as a whole, the defensive backs, have gotten better and better and more confident in what they're trying to do.
Head coach Mike Uremovich joining us on This Week in Ball State Sports. Coach, you mentioned earlier about your offense being able just to execute one step more. What do you mean by that?
We got to make plays when they're there. You know, when we call a play that is designed for exactly the look that we get, and we get the look, then we have to execute the play. Now, that involves everybody. We might have the right route there, and we might get beat on the O-line, and we can't get the ball off. Or we have the right route there, and we don't make the throw, or we don't execute the catch. Or we're running the ball, and we got the perfect look, and we don't get it blocked long enough or sustained long enough. So, you know, offensive football really takes all 11 guys to execute. And if one guy is not executing at a high level, one defensive player can wreck a whole play. And so we have to be more consistent with our execution offensively at every position, at every single one of them.
Coach, I know you're a day-to-day, week-to-week guy, but we're already only 4 games left in the season. How fast is this thing flying by in year one for you?
I always tell the players that training camp takes forever till it goes fast. Like it takes forever. And then the last 10 days of camp fly by. And then you get into the season, you think you got all these games, and then you look up and like you said, you got 4 left. And it's something I talked about with the team when we got back the day after the NIU game, was because I said, guys, I always go week to week, but this is a bye. We have a little extra time. So I just want to talk big picture to you guys and understand where you're at. You got 4 games left.
How much do you dive into big picture at this point?
All I did is just tell them, guys, you got 4 games left. 2 of them are at home, and there's a lot of things out there for you still to accomplish this year. And there's a lot of things that we can do as a team that can make this a great season, but it's not just going to happen. And we got to get back to work. And I just want you to see the big picture of where we're at, because it's tough after you lose a game, because everybody puts so much in. It's tough. It's human nature. It's tough on the coaches. I mean, you put everything you got into a game and you don't get what you want. Well, you got to get back up, and you got to work even harder, and you got to stick to the plan, and you got to be disciplined. Sometimes when things don't go your way, it's human nature to, well, that didn't work, and I put all of it into it. I don't want to risk that disappointment again. But that's not the business that we're in. It's every Saturday, or in this case, every Wednesday, we have an opportunity to prove that we've grown as a team, and we need to do that this Wednesday.
And Coach, from your perspective, not trying to get too much in the ups and the downs, right? Especially after a rivalry game like with NIU, you can't get too down after a situation like that. Is that what you're kind of preaching to the team too?
Yeah, and honestly, yes, it is. And it's more challenging. We're dealing with kids. So when you lose a game, the challenge is to have them not be too down. And when you win a big game, the challenge is to have them not be too up and think that they got it figured out. We need to have the same approach every week, and that is challenging. And that's what we get paid to do as coaches, is to keep these guys focused on what the goal is for this given week. And this week it's to go beat Kent State and execute on all 3 phases of the game.
Well, Coach, we always appreciate your time here on This Week in Ball State Sports. We'll talk with you soon. Thank you.
No problem. Hopefully it's not too cold on Wednesday.
Let's hope not. Fingers crossed. That's head coach Mike Uremovich joining us on This Week in Ball State Sports. We'll step aside, come back, and Tayler Persons joins us as a Ball State men's basketball alum next on This Week in Ball State Sports.
Behind every strong hip and knee. Behind every strong shoulder.
Good catch.
Behind every strong team is our highly skilled team of experts in orthopedics. IU Health is the official healthcare and sports medicine provider of Ball State Athletics, and we're here to keep you moving. From acute injuries to chronic pain and conditions, go where the athletes go. Walk-in appointments for new injuries are available Monday through Friday from 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. And you can always schedule a same-day or next-day appointment and wait from the comfort of your home. Visit iuhealth.org/MuncieOrtho to learn more.
At Kroger, you never compromise. You get high quality and low prices. Like you never compromise your meal with our spring salad mix, guaranteed fresh. And you never compromise your budget with lower prices on over 1,000 items. And you never compromise your appetite with our golden brown bread that's baked fresh in store. And you never compromise your wallet with our lower prices. Hand it to Kroger shoppers. You never compromise. Kroger. Fresh for everyone.
Welcome back to This Week in Ball State Sports, and we have a special alum guest here today, Ball State men's basketball alum back in 2019, Tayler Persons, all the way from Bosnia. Tayler, appreciate your time, man. It's good to talk with you.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on here, and man, it's been crazy. Been a long time, man. Been a long time.
It has been, man. We were just reminiscing on some times of you hitting the big shot at Notre Dame on the road back in 2018, and we're just talking about some of the fun memories there. Tayler, you've been able to travel the world at this point. We'll get to some of your Ball State days, but just from your experience being out in the professional basketball landscape for 9 different seasons with 9 different teams, like how's everything been?
Man, it's been a journey, I could say. Living in all these different places to see the people, the cultures, the history. It's been something that is priceless in terms of just life and everything. I've done well. This is my 7th year this year. I've been on 9 different teams, 8 or 9 different teams. And, financially, I can't say it hasn't been great too. I've done well for myself, but I think the experience of, meeting these different people, the cultures, and that's been the biggest thing. I get to take my family with me. I'm lucky to have a wife that travels with me and wants to, stay by my side. And now I've had one son for the last 4 years, and I recently just had a new addition. So, just to have my family and to experience these things that, people from the States don't really get an opportunity to go to Europe. For the most part, it's, a trip here or there. And I've actually got to live here for the past 7 years. So it's been awesome, man.
Man, that's awesome. Congratulations on your two kids.
Thank you.
Been able to do, man. Like it's really cool to see what you've done from far away. And how do you think that you've learned more about the game of basketball these last 7 years with all the different stops that you've been able to go to and experiences you've been able to collect?
My position as the point guard, I think I learned a lot more. I think if I kind of knew what I knew now, I know it's cliche and a lot of people say this, going back to the college days and all that, but I really learned what terms of being a true point guard is. I think that's what, if people watch me play now, it'd be a little bit different. I think more in college, I was more like, how it is in America, scoring and want to, do all this. But I learned the trueness of my position over here. I had some really good coaches the last few years that I actually makes me want to become a coach, and from a tactical, side. And I've learned a lot. I didn't expect. I was kind of feeling like I've always, known a lot, and I've always been eager to learn. But I can honestly say that I've grown so much knowledge of just little things that, I could bore you with. But as terms of my position, I've learned a lot, and I think it's shown in my game these last few years for sure.
Tayler Persons, Ball State men's basketball alum, joining us here on This Week in Ball State Sports over in Bosnia. Tayler, when you have a chance to look back at your journey so far, how would you say that you've grown the most? Whether it's basketball, whether it's as a person, how would you say your overall growth has shined the most?
You ask how I've grown the most? I would say in both ways. I think I would say I've grown tremendously as a player, but also as a person, within my relationship with my wife and my family, because we had our first son. He came over here when he was about 3-4 months. So it was like, we had no help. It was between us two. We had, just each other. She was in a foreign country. I was in a foreign country. For her, it was like her second time, but me, the same. So it was all new. And I think I grew as a person. I know my wife would say the same. And just to learn to be a man for the family. You can't rely on people, and I give a lot of credit of that to my wife. I'm very blessed. I love her. And I know I wasn't the easiest to deal with. And, it's growing pains. But I think growing as a person is something I could say that I can honestly, not being able to rely on family back home or, your friends and all this stuff. So, that I've grown a lot. But in basketball, too, like I already spoke of, my position, I feel like I changed a lot. If guys could watch me play at Ball State, I think they would see that. And I wish I had that. Credit to Coach Whitford at my time at Ball State. He was trying to get me to become that. I was, how it is. You're stubborn and you think you know better than the guys. But, I really learned how to play the position that I'm at. And it's I've reaped the benefits of that recently, with the better contracts, better, situations. So, I think I've grown equally, but I'll give a little bit more to as a person, just in terms of for my wife, my family, and, being a man, taking care of the family.
Tayler Persons joining us here on This Week in Ball State Sports. Tayler, you mentioned Ball State and the family there. How much do you talk to folks from Ball State still? How much do you connect with all your teammates?
I try to keep up with some of them. I'm really close with like Ryan Weber still. That's like, my best friend at that time, and Trey, but here and there, a couple of the guys will hit me up on Instagram or, social media, and we'll chat a little bit. I had a really good, I've always had a good relationship with the coaches too, Coach Whitford, Gronkamar, Coach Thornton, Coach Peters, I still keep in touch with them. But, I miss my guys. I miss the Ball State. That was a time in my life that I grew a lot as a person, as a player, as, everything. And I had some of my best memories there. I met my wife at Ball State, the basketball. And, we had some sadness, with, obviously the tough year of losing Hollywood. But So Ball State is always, special in my heart. Even last year I went in the summer, I just drove through the campus. I missed it. I met a teammate that I played with in Poland that is actually from Muncie. And, he was born there. His family's from Muncie, but he was there. So I just took some time, drove through the campus and just to reminisce on, a great period of my life.
TP, you were the first player in Ball State history to score 1,000, have 400 assists. You talk about the memories. The Notre Dame game is one that always sticks out to everybody. What do you remember most about that game when you look back on it 7 years later?
Man, that's sometimes when I need a little bit of confidence or watch some, I, put on the highlight, do it a little bit. But man, what a game that was. Going into that game, you want those games. We're playing a ranked opponent. Notre Dame, they just won Maui that year. Had Bonzi Colson, Farrell, the little point guard that was really good. They had a really, really good team. And, I just remember being prepared and ready. I always thrive myself on trying to, play good in those big moments. And, I kind of went out there with just like, let it all, we ain't supposed to win anyway. So let's just give it our all and see what happens. But, the thing about that game that I remember the most is, we were in control of the game the most part, it wasn't like that was a fluke that we were just at the end came back. They actually made a run at the end that we probably shouldn't even let happen. But, obviously it leads into one of the biggest shots of, the Ball State history, through that. And, man, I can just remember at that moment, it's like, it still gives me chills thinking about it. Like, it's like they talk about the flow state. It just like felt like everything at that point in that last play kind of just, it was like meant to be. I knew I was going to take the shot. I feel like everybody on the Ball State side knew what was going to happen at the end. What was special to me is I had my father there. He's been with me through it all. And he tells the story that he just got up and, started walking towards the exit. He knew I was going to make it. So, I don't know how true that is, but it was good, and also that was a tough year. How that year was going. And, I'm just glad that I could bring some excitement, to Ball State. I wanted to go to the tournament. That was always my biggest goal. How tough the MAC was in our situation, and never got over that hump. But it's sweet to have a moment like that for sure.
That was the year of the game-winning shots. Think you had 3 that year?
Yeah, 3. I had 1 in Dayton that should have counted too, but we got dang near cheated off that one. So yeah, it was crazy. The craziest thing is when I tell people about that is that I hit one then, and then I hit one the next game against Valpo.
Yeah.
And that was special because that was at home and we had a good crowd, one of the biggest ones we had while I was there. So, hey, those are I don't know how many times that happens, bro. Really in basketball.
No, and you hit it from the same spot, the left wing, pull up 3, boom, game over.
Boom. So I mean, it's funny because the guy at Valpo that I hit it over, he actually played for the Kokomo Bobcats. So I actually we were working out in the summer, and I have friends, mutual friends, so we got together, and I was like, man, I'm sorry, bro. I had to hit that,
Tayler Persons joining us here on This Week in Ball State Sports. TP, you also got to play at the TBT tournament, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How was that experience?
It was good. I enjoy it. I took 1 year off this summer because I had a little bit of, I was banged up, man. We played a lot over the summer, but I'll probably get back to it. I love it, man. I like the – I actually got to meet at Butler, the guy, because he's from Ball State, the Elam, the guy that created the whole Elam ending and stuff. So it's pretty special. And, I like it. It goes into what I like to do. Last point has got to be a game winner. You always end on a bucket. Personally, sometimes it's like, man, I wish I could just, run the clock out and get the game over once you're winning. But it really puts the game in pressure situations. And I think it's, it's fun. Hopefully next year I can get on get a good team and make a run, and make some money.
Tayler Persons joining us here on This Week in Ball State Sports. TP, last one for you here before we let you go and get back to basketball over in Bosnia. Looking at anybody who's in similar shoes to what you were, graduating college, looking to play professional, what advice would you give people?
Best advice I would give you is, you have to, first and foremost, you have to get an agent that has a reputation somebody that's going to represent you over here, that's going to that knows the game. It's kind of hard to get an American agent and expect them to do well in Europe because they have partner agents. That's one advice I'd give. And the second is through playing is once you get over here, it's a totally different game. It's more like college, so it's a little bit, you're more used to it, but it's different, man. You're in different styles of play. You're in different, cultures. So you have to take a step back and don't think that you're just a superstar because you're an American when you come over here. These guys can play in every country. They love basketball just like we do. They just don't have as many people as we do. So that's why it's a little different. But so you got to take it, year by year. Also, when things don't go good, I know it's easy, and I've been in these situations too. It's easy to point, fingers and do this, but, you got to be professional. It is a job at the end of the day. You need to, do the best you can to give yourself in a positive light and, give yourself a chance to moving forward to, do what you need to do. And also, last advice I would give is, have hobbies outside of basketball. A lot of guys play video games. I'm getting a little old. It's 30. I got the kids, so it's a little. My time is prioritized with my kids, so it's different. But you have to have something, whether that's going to take walks, reading books, going out and embracing yourself in the culture. It really helps because, like I said, you're away from your family, America, and it's different over here. They live a different life, so those things let you be more at peace for where you are at. So, yeah.
No, beautifully said, TP. We appreciate you joining us here on This Week in Ball State Sports, man. Thank you so much and best of luck.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you for having me. Chirp, chirp.
Thank you to Ball State alum, men's basketball star Tayler Persons over in Bosnia for joining us on This Week in Ball State Sports. We'll step aside one more time. Andy Stoots, women's soccer head coach, talks with us next.
Behind every strong hip and knee. Behind every strong shoulder.
Good catch.
Behind every strong team is our highly skilled team of experts in orthopedics. IU Health is the official healthcare and sports medicine provider of Ball State Athletics, and we're here to keep you moving. From acute injuries to chronic pain and conditions, go where the athletes go. Walk-in appointments for new injuries are available Monday through Friday from 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. And you can always schedule a same-day or next-day appointment and wait from the comfort of your home. Visit iuhealth.org/MuncieOrtho to learn more.
At Kroger, you never compromise. You get high quality and low prices. Like you never compromise your meal with our spring salad mix, guaranteed fresh. And you never compromise your budget with lower prices on over 1,000 items. And you never compromise your appetite with our golden brown bread that's baked fresh in store. And you never compromise your wallet with our lower prices. Hand it to Kroger shoppers. You never compromise. Kroger. Fresh for everyone.
Final couple minutes of This Week in Ball State Sports on a Thursday morning. Head coach Andy Stoots from Ball State Soccer joins us in a pre-recorded conversation and talks about why this team is ready to go for the Mid-American Conference Tournament.
Mick, aside from a soccer standpoint, I think that how the group has just come together from a culture and teamwork kind of standpoint. We did a lot of work in the summer with the seniors, and they've been the ones that have kind of led the group the entire year, and it just seems like they just continue to gain momentum, gain trust, gain belief, as we've moved towards the end. So I think that part excites me the most, that it's a group that they're still excited to come to practice every day. They're still excited to be around each other every day. When you have that sort of camaraderie and belief within a group, then you got a chance to do something special.
Coach, you had 4 straight wins near the end of the season to propel momentum going into the MAC tournament. How much do you think that what you just said, the group coming together and having sustained success at the end of the season, does help what this group can do at the tournament?
It's a huge deal. I think when teams can win consistently, it does give them belief, and even some of the losses that we had early, that we performed well. So I think it just reiterated to them what they could be, and that's kind of what I've said from the beginning is, back in the spring when I got here, I was like, I think we have a chance to be okay. And the deeper that it got, we got to preseason and got through preseason, I was like, I think we have a chance to be pretty dang good. And we've continued to just improve. So I think that's just kind of their mindset. My mindset is we're just going to kind of try to keep doing better at what we do and see where that takes us.
You've known Addie Chester for quite some time, but Coach, how much fun has it been to coach her at this level with her being this deep into her college career and having so much experience?
It has been fun. There's no doubt about it. And, I want to say she's once in a generational type player for a program like Ball State, but she kind of is, I think aside from the soccer side, I think when you show up to watch us play, it's very easy to notice Addie. Her confidence on the ball, all of those sorts of things that are easy to see. But I think what I would tell anybody who will listen is it's really all of the other things that I've really enjoyed the most about her this year. She seems to have a spark back in her about loving the game and enjoying playing the game. And I think as a coach, that's what you really want to see, right? And beyond that, the amount of work she does off the ball, I've been really happy and really impressed with her commitment to the grit side of it, to just working and, covering tons of ground and pressing and, and in multiple games, she's done it for 90 minutes, and she has also been an integral part of the leadership. I think when you're on a team and you see the most talented player on your team being the one who is doing tons of work and is willing to get into tackles, I can think of at least on 2 occasions, she's made 2 big plays defensively within the last 3-4 minutes of games to help secure wins for us. And when it's your most talented player doing that, it's easy to follow her, right? It's easy to do the same, and as she leads by example. So I think aside from just her being an amazing player, an amazing person, I think it's all the other things that I've been most excited about for Addie.
Thanks for listening to This Week in Ball State Sports. The preceding has been a Gainbridge Ball State Cardinals Sports Network presentation on 92.5 FM, 1340 AM, WMUN.